We're going to keep things moving here on the program. Say hello to a gentleman who's in his fourth season as the head football coach at Tennessee State, played 9 seasons in the National Football League. Also, as a matter of fact, you look at this Tennessee State team, 5-2 on the season, 3-1 in the OBC Big South Conference, and really getting it done. Number 3 in the HBCU coaches poll, number 4 in the HBCU media poll. Edie George is our guest here on the program. What's going on, Coach George?
Man, just trying to put a game plan together this weekend to take care of Howard at Howard. You know, that's about it, man. Just enjoying this amazing weather this time of year and just trying to finish off the season in a strong note, man.
Absolutely. Be up in Washington, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. I mean, look, you're on to this 5-2 season and 3-1 in your conference, playing some good football. Your thoughts on the way the Tigers are playing so far this season?
I think we're playing some good ball. We're finding ways to win games. You know, some gritty games, and like the last few weeks have been some absolute wars for us. Last week was a conference foe that got us last year for homecoming, and you know we came out with a chip on our shoulder. We wanted to show and prove that hey, we can play a full 4 quarters of a clean game, and did a decent job of that. And we're trying to peak at the right time. And I think it's all 3 phases are really starting to complement each other, and the guys are really bought into it. So we're just trying to take that momentum on the road in a hostile environment. There's going to be a ton of energy, and continue to build that momentum for the final quarter of our season. So that's when it counts. That's when championships and champions are defined in November, and that's a challenge that we set out to take on early in the year, and we find ourselves in the midst of that, and we're welcoming the challenge right now.
I wonder if there was some carryover from last season, your first winning season at Tennessee State, that has carried over now into this season, again, off to the 5-2
hmm
start.
Well, I think you can look at. I think it's familiarity with a lot of the guys that have been here for 3, 4 years. I think they've really bought in the standard. Now they're raising the standard. They're living the standard and the culture. I think culture is just something that's so important. Most people just overlook it and say, talent wins games, but talent without discipline, talent without focus, talent without the right attitude, the intentionality, the trust in the process, and helping each other. Iron sharpens iron. Without that culture, it's tough to go in a lot of these tight ball games and finding ways to win. If you don't trust the guy next to you, if you don't know who he is, when it's a critical 4th and 1, and you can't trust him to get his job or yourself, then you're just a bunch of individuals out there trying to, win games. But, we're really focused on building a strong foundation, a program here at Tennessee State the last few years. And, we did carry over some great things. We were exactly who we were last year. We were 6-5 ball club, not quite disciplined enough, not quite talented enough in some areas that we had to improve on. So that's where we are right now. We don't focus on the result of a championship. We focus on championship habits, and that's day in, day out. That's constantly teaching. That's constantly showing compassion. Constantly being patient. It's not moving as fast as we all would like. Of course, you want that instant gratification, but the beauty is in the process of watching it develop, watching it marinate, watching it come together. And we're doing it right now. We're finding some success with our approach.
And that's why it's important, I think for people to really understand, alums, fans, people outside of football, that it takes time.
Yeah.
Sometimes everybody
Mm.
wants instant gratification, but it takes time to build a program.
Right. It's we all want that microwave instant pop. You want to heat it up right now in 2 minutes. But your greatest meals are done over time. It's a process. The best meals that I've ever had, it took 8 hours, sometimes 2 days to go through the seasoning, the brining, the slow cook, so you can really enjoy every piece of that meal. And that's kind of where we are now at Tennessee State. And I I'm not trying to be like anybody else. All I know is my way in terms of how I was raised in the sport, how I was coached, how I played the game, and who I aspire to be as a head coach. I'm not perfect. I don't have all the answers. I'm always seeking answers. I'm always seeking ways to get better. But the one thing that I try to provide is an environment that guys can grow, our coaches can grow, they can be themselves, they can bring forth ideas. And, we're really focused on being positive and having an optimistic environment as best that we can. Now, we are not perfect by any means. We don't have all the answers, but we strive for that each and every day we walk into this building.
I think it's interesting the analogy. Did you just smoke a pork butt or something? You said 2 days. Did you just smoke? Were you on the
Hey, I just
smoker,
gave
Coach George?
I gave you this is a part of my process when I brine my turkeys. Thanksgiving is right around the corner, so I'm thinking about brining my turkeys and injecting them with an injectable marinade that I make myself, the marinade, and that's a 72-hour process. So and it pays off in the end. So I always look for analogies in terms of building a team and having a meal and so forth. So I'm always looking for great things like that.
No doubt about it. Eddie George, in his fourth season as the head football coach at Tennessee State, joins us here on the program. Of course, played 9 seasons in the National Football League. Offensively, look, Draylon Ellis, I mean, you talk about the numbers, and I want to ask you how he's playing. But if I look at the numbers, good passing numbers, close to 60% of his passes completed, 13 touchdowns to 4 interceptions on the season. Your thoughts on the way he's performed so far?
Draylon is really having a great year for us. Like you said, the fourth interceptions. Last year, since he's been here, he's been right at 50%. And I have to give a lot of credit to our offensive coordinator, Travis Partridge, who came in from UT Martin. He took this challenge on, really wanted the job, really believed in Draylon as a quarterback. Not that the last coordinator didn't, but Travis played the position, and he is taking what Draylon does well and magnifying that, putting him in positions to allow him to be successful. And this was a process. Again, the offense was very hit or miss in the beginning of the season. We were striving to be more consistent week in and week out, and that's what we're finding. And Draylon has put in the work. Going back to last spring, this was his first full spring that he's been since he's been here. So he had a chance to get the repetition, the confidence, the buy-in, the chemistry with the rest of the offense. Comes in early and stays late. Really had grown up as a true leader on this football team. And we had conversations in the off season of what I felt like he needed to do to reach that level. He's talented, but he has to be committed and truly buy in to the system. And we're seeing that. And where he's not a finished product, he's not perfect. We still got some work to do. We still got things to work on, but he's starting to see the fruits of his labor come to fruition because of the work that he's put in and the trust that he's put into his teammates, the process, and the art of preparation. He's seeing the benefits behind that.
Because of the new offensive coordinator, I mean, been following you for the 4 years, and especially early on, and as a former running back, I might add, that running game was heavy. You're averaging about 104 yards rushing per game. Has the philosophy changed in terms of putting emphasis on the run?
Well, that's always been that. Ever since I've come here, I've always talked about being able to run the football and stop the run. That's where we start. That's the ground zero, foundational football that we're going to do. That's our identity. It didn't necessarily reflect it in the numbers, but what we're doing philosophically speaking, schematically speaking, is emphasizing, hey, we're going to be a team that's going to run downhill, and we're going to base everything else off that. Now, if the passing game is working, we're going to throw the ball. We got to throw it 50 times a game to win. Hey, it's working, it's working. But I understand, in the long term, in terms of identity, we need to be able to establish the ground game and a powerful one, because I believe that opens up a lot of opportunities for your pass game. It helps the passing game, and we seek balance through that. I don't necessarily believe in, becoming 1985 Oklahoma Sooners, or that 1990 Colorado Buffalo team that that power I option team where all they threw the ball maybe 4 times a game. But I do believe in balance. We want to have elements of the RPO. We want to do some things out of different personnel groupings, and just do it over and over again. Simplicity in our play calling in terms of the types of runs and play calls that we do have, but complex in the dress up and how we get to it. That's kind of the idea.
And then your thoughts on the way the defense has played so far?
Defense has played some good football. I mean, I think top 10 in turnovers in the country in FCS. I think we're in the top 25 in tackles for loss. Playing really good red zone defense. We had a lot of youth on that side of the football that had to grow up. Some freshmen that are really contributing well to our defense. And there's some things that we still need to get better at. We got to get better on third down. We got to get off the field. We're doing a decent job of putting teams in third and long situations, but we're not able to close the deal on third down to stop their drives. But when it counts, we're really good we've been really good in situational football, the end of half, and at the end of game situations. We've been able to find ways to win with a good defense.
Edie George, again in his 4th season as the head football coach at Tennessee State, also played 9 seasons in the National Football League, joins us here on the program. Your thoughts, the Howard Bison, you're going up to Washington, D.C. It's homecoming there. Your thoughts on some of the challenges the Bison present?
Well, one, the environment's going to be electric. It's their homecoming. It's something that is world renowned. You have alumni, celebrities. They all migrate to DC for the Howard homecoming. Too, our fan base is excited about it. They've been wanting to travel to an HBCU like of this magnitude. So that's going to be incredible in terms of the environment. They presented a huge challenge for us. This team is well coached. They have some really good athletes on the offensive and defensive line. They have a quarterback that can spin it and presents a problem in the run game in terms of a dual threat. I think the back is as good as we've seen all season long in terms of number 2 and number 5, Edgerrin James's son. They provide a 1-2 punch that needs to be reckoned with. And defensively, they are aggressive. They get after you. You'll see a lot of blitzes, a lot of a commitment to stop the run. They're going to press you on the outside, say, "Hey, beat it." They're very upfront and aggressive that way, and that's the way that they play. So it's going to be a great challenge for us on the road to see who we are and not be distracted, but to go in there with the mindset, "Hey, we want to try to go out and find a way to get the best way to get a victory out of this unit."
How are you growing now in your 4th season as the head coach there at Tennessee State?
Oh, man, that is such a a loaded question, man. Every day I'm growing, I'm learning, I'm failing. Um, that's the beauty of it is that I've failed more in this opportunity than I've succeeded, in terms of dealing with people or dealing with game planning or handling players, dealing with coaches. I'm dealing with so many different personalities on a day-to-day basis and different um, situations come across my desk away from the game. Getting to Saturdays, getting the team to buy in, getting rest, all those things, making sure that I'm living what I'm preaching is more important to me than anything else. Because I've seen and I've been around various coaches that talk the talk, but don't walk the walk. They don't live it. And that's not something that I aspire to be. I'd rather be the example. I'd rather be the sermon than to talk it. You know what I'm saying? If that makes sense. So um, I continue to grow. I believe I've grown to the point where my style is constantly being defined. I don't try to emulate a certain coach. Am I trying to be Coach Prime? Am I trying to be Nick Saban? I'm not trying to be Dabo Sweeney. I admire all those men. I lean on all of them, but I put my thumbprint on it because I bring something unique to the table based off of my own experience. So that's something that I strive to be, is to be myself in the seat and to operate with integrity, with compassion, with discernment, and ultimately, understanding the bigger mission is to develop men through the game of football. And if I do that and I hold true to that, I'm going to get a sound product on the football field if I coach the person and not the player.
Last two thoughts. What do you remember most about your playing days in the National Football League, in particular right there in Nashville, and playing with also with Steve McNair?
Oh man, it's so long ago. you know, um, some people barely knew I played the game. Like it's crazy. It felt like ages ago, but just yesterday. I think about Steve and I think about our time together and building the Tennessee Titans with Jeff Fisher and Floyd Reese and Jeff Diamond and the late Bud Adams. What we built here in Nashville was pretty special. Um, and it was done with care, it was done with love, it was done with discipline and patience. I often go back on those times when we didn't have much as an organization. In fact, our first training camp in Tennessee was here at Tennessee State, staying in these dorms, staying on this campus. So, it comes full circle for me. I think about it often. I draw on those times of where I was as a player and try to see it now through the eyes of a head coach and try to make decisions based off of that, off my own experience when it comes to leadership or getting ready for a big game or coming off of a loss. How do we handle certain situations? How do we respond? And that's what I think about.
And then lastly, you were a finalist for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Unfortunately, didn't get in. I wonder if is that disappointing? Do you look at it that way?
I'm being talked about still. The door's not closed. At some point, if I'm worthy to get in, I'll get in. It's not something that drives me. I have nothing to do with it. My score is posted. I'm in the clubhouse now. Now it's up to the writers and voters and whoever that may be to decide if I'm worthy to get in the Hall of Fame. I'm in various Hall of Fames. From my high school, National High School Hall of Famer to college Hall of Famer. My jersey's been retired. I'm a Heisman winner. I've accomplished a lot in my life, and really, honestly, I'll be a huge honor to get a gold jacket. But it doesn't necessarily define me or define my career. It's a day. That day is meant to honor those that have helped you get to the Hall of Fame and recognize them. And we'll see. God willing, it'll happen. I pray that if it doesn't happen, that He gives me the grace to not be bitter or upset or hurt by it, and fill my heart with something different. So that's kind of how I look at it.
Edie George, again in his fourth season as the head football coach at Tennessee State, played 9 seasons in the National Football League. The Tigers are on the road in Washington, D.C. against Howard on Saturday. Coach George, class act, really appreciate the time. Continued success to you and the Tigers.
Anytime, brother. I appreciate you, man. I enjoy coming on with you, man. It's a pleasure. We got to do this more often.